Hello YouTubers, I'm back again for vlog number 3. Alright, a couple things to talk about this evening. First off, hands. Got a couple, remarks about the last video. I do a lot with the hands, touching face and whatnot. Not really like a twitch or anything that I have wrong with me. I don't know, a physical like face touching problem. Wasn't really like nervous or anything either. It just kind of happens. Like helps me think. So I'm gonna do this video trying to do that as little as possible. Maybe scratching a few itches here and there. But other than that, trying to keep the hands down. Alright, so here we go. Surf asked about the evolution of music, which I don't really want to talk about in depth, simply because I know a lot of people would argue with me, basically saying about, what's considered, the beginning of music and everything, and really the only thing you can classify to the beginning would just be simple rhythm, beat, anything like that. That would have to be like the most basic thing you can think about when it comes to the evolution of music. And not only I don't want to talk about it to not be argued with. I mean, I'll talk about it. I just don't want to go in depth. I took history of jazz and intro to tech music and everything. So, I got a little bit of here and there. With jazz, you learn a lot about the beginning of rock and roll, which is kind of thanks to Ray Charles and everything. Yet again, one of those debatable things, but I kind of put it on Ray Charles. That's my personal opinion, that he was more the father of rock than the Beatles or Elvis or whoever you want to call the king or beginner of. But as far as evolution of it goes, I would say learning what I have about jazz and seeing kind of has a lot of whatever is controversial is kind of what shapes music. In jazz, for example, with slavery, it kind of became the I don't want to say wistful, because that almost makes it sound optimistic and happy, but the songs were just like depressing tones, but singing about, either biblical stories, or they were singing about freedom, but it was always in a fairly depressing tone, and that you would classify under the blues, the original blues, not, jazz blues or anything like that, or modern blues. I think when you move into jazz, you start talking about guys like Miles Davis, who is almost like I don't want to say Da Vinci, I'm trying to think, like kind of like a Picasso. If you're looking at the art world, he's kind of like the Picasso of jazz, because the guy was bipolar, crazy in his own sense. But they say you have to be crazy to, be a talented artist in any sense, which is debatable, yet again. But Miles Davis could be a complete, jerk one day, and then, the next day be signing autographs and talking to his fans and stuff. Miles Davis wasn't very involved with his fans, but there was just some days where he was more outspoken about it than others, such as standing up on stage and telling people to F off, basically. But that kind of, gives a little bit of insight into the evolution of music and how it flows. I mean, the time of the blues was obviously, that depressing time, but they wanted to be optimistic. When you get to the time of jazz, in the later era of jazz, when jazz started to decline in its popularity, you come across a lot of just real, like, upbeat and kind of odd sounds. you hear a lot of different. Ooh, sorry about the darkness there. You hear a lot of different and new sounds, whether it be, throwing a piano in where you wouldn't normally hear it, or trumpet, or what have you. It's just, if you kind of follow the culture, you'll see the music. So I think you really have to look at the culture and the socio-economic level of the people creating the music before you can really talk about the evolution of music, because I think it all follows the same path. The music is always going to be controversial in some aspect to what the people are used to. I mean, nowadays, we're listening to lyrics screaming that nobody can even really comprehend what they're saying, and they could be saying the dumbest stuff, like I like cake, just screaming it in the most odd tones, and completely, it doesn't even have to be organized, no rhythm whatsoever, but yet people will listen to it. And that's kind of how evolution is. It's always about the controversy of it, because some people say it's not music and a lot of people say it is. I'm really on the fence about it. I know I say, hey, yeah, that's the type of music, but whether it's good or not is really not for me to say. On to another thing Surf said about the American Dream, and double check exactly what the question was. The American Dream and what you want to do with your life, and what you see as your American Dream, was Surf's question slash topic. And I would say that the American Dream is the dream of the American. And that sounds like just reversing it around, which it is, but it's really a better way to put it. The dream of the American. It doesn't make it sound so generalized. Whereas the American Dream is kind of like, that white picket fence, living in a house, family, a kid or two. That's kind of like the American Dream, making good money, enough to support yourself and get the things you want. That's really what the American Dream has become, in a sense, is basically making enough money to get what you need and a little bit of what you want. I think is what the American Dream has come to. It's for the humble people out there. That's kind of what the American Dream is. And granted, you got people that are going to be going for way higher things, and there's people that just really don't care and are going to go way lower for their expectations. As for me personally, what I want to do with my life is kind of just, the American Dream in a sense. One thing that's kind of, out of the ordinary of the American Dream is I want to travel, get around a little bit. Not necessarily far. I don't have to travel far. Maybe I want to hit another country once or twice. Maybe more than that before I die. But other than that, just simple traveling, like getting to know. If I'm going to live somewhere, I kind of want to know it. And therefore, you kind of got to travel around, just learning the land. Even if I'm living in the same place that I am right now, in Spring Grove, Pennsylvania, I kind of want to know more of Pennsylvania, just as, common knowledge to myself, instead of, having to Google or search up anything that I want to know about it. Kind of would like to just have a little bit of an image in my mind of what it is. But that's just, my interpretation of, traveling. I don't really need to go see California or, Kentucky, Maine. I really don't need to. Would it be an experience? Yes. Whether it be good or bad is, undecided until it actually happens. Whether it's something I want to do or not. Really no desire to see California. Really no desire to see, a majority of the states, really. I would like to, go south a little bit sometime, and just kind of scour that area out a little bit, and maybe up north up north a while. Probably check out Canada. I don't know about Alaska and Hawaii. Those are two kind of like on the fence things, because I feel like they're both places that really, when brought into perspective, aren't my natural habitat, in a sense. Alaska would probably be, way too cold for me. And granted, I'm not, whining like I can't take the cold, but it's just out of place for me. And Hawaii would probably, not necessarily be too hot, but just be out of the ordinary for me, which I think Hawaii would be a better experience for me than Alaska. But anyway, that's kind of just my view on traveling, and what I want to do with my life was basically American dream, get married, have kids, live in a really rural neighborhood, very sparse, not too many people around. I mean, that could change over time. I mean, change isn't saying where I want to live. I mean, but I think overall, still, a majority of people would even, one of the American goals and dreams is to, get married and produce offspring. And even a lot of your religions say, that's kind of what you're here to do. That's just my viewpoint on it. The last thing I wanted to talk about, I know I'm coming up on my 15 minutes here. I got like 4 minutes left. Try to keep it under. Labels, because this was brought up today, and I want kind of people to respond on this topic more than the other two. If you want to respond on the other two, that's great. But on labels, my question goes out to, what do you see as a label? That's question one. Question two is, can a label be distinctively good or bad, or maybe even a combination of both? But can that definition of good or bad be, can that definition of good or bad be applied differently to each one? Can, one be good, one be bad, and one label be both good and bad? Stuff like that. My third question that comes with it is, would you openly label yourself? And I don't mean that as a sense and I'm a loser or stuff like that. I mean, guys that would actually say, I'm a jock. I mean, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. You have a stereotype connected with that, and that's not always bad. I mean, if you are a jock, you're a jock. You like to play sports, you're probably a little thick-headed, stuff like that. Was called out on it because I label myself as a nerd, but not in a bad sense. I mean, I put it on as like, I like to work with computers, play video games. I like to do a lot of, technology related stuff, networking, junk. I like to vlog. Come on, I'm a nerd, alright? But it's not in a bad sense. I'm not getting, beat up all the time or get my glasses broken. It's really just more like a title. I called it an occupation almost, because it's kind of one of those things. It's what I do with my life. It's my hobbies and stuff that kind of classify that for me. So, fourth and final question is, what is a label to you? Like, would you consider, stupid to be a label? Would you consider nerd to be a label? Would you consider jock to be a label? Could anything be translated into a label, or is there just certain things? Is there a very specific few that are more popular than the rest? And anything else, religion, politics, all that, is that just one label, or what? Also, one final thing before I reach my mark, I really want people to comment on this, because it just came into my head, but I want people to comment and what you think about the political labeling of affiliating yourself with Republican or Democrat when you register to be a voter. I myself am unaffiliated, so, that's just my take on it, but, do you feel that we should have that, or we shouldn't? Alright, that gives me about 30 minutes to kind of sign off here. I definitely want people to think about kind of getting a crew together, someone to do vlogs and send them to me, and then me kind of wire them into mine, or do a double post, or just, video respond on everything. That way there's some sense of, continuance every, weekday, whatever. Just let me know, and I think that's it. Coming up on my mark. Hope everyone had a great holiday. I'll talk to you later.